Connery. Sean Connery. Oscar winner, icon, and of course, the original movie Bond. While Ian Fleming's creation was the product of Eton, Connery was a lorry driver's son who left school at 14 and drove a milk truck in his home city, Edinburgh. His pursuit of an acting career came after 3 years in the Navy and a period in varied jobs, such as artist model and a coffin polisher. Success was far from overnight, but 4 years after joining the chorus line of South Pacific, he landed his first leading role as a fading boxer in the BBC television play Requiem for a Heavyweight. Sean Connery was on his way. In 1962, he said yes to Dr. No, and for many became the definitive James Bond. By 1964, he was on his third outing as Bond, this time in Goldfinger, and he was being interviewed on a noisy set at Pinewood Studios by BBC reporter Evelyn Elliott.
A few minutes ago, you were having a pretty tough time, I saw, in a dungeon. I'm glad you fought your way out to talk to us. Do you find this side of filming particularly strenuous?
Well, no more strenuous than some of the digs I was in Manchester. No, it's all pretty well worked out, and it's not advisable on top of a heavy breakfast or a hangover. Otherwise, it's all right.
This is your third James Bond picture. And I'm sure that as far as picturegoers are concerned, they could see more and more. But how do you feel about this yourself?
Oh, I think it's splendid. I think it's very good entertainment. They obviously like it. And one every year, 14 months, is a sort of good, healthy issue, I think.
Now, James Bond really conjures up a picture of blondes, bullets and booze. Do you find that people expect you to be like this in real life?
I don't meet a great deal of people, really. I've been so busy. I'm on my fourth film in 1 year, so the chances of meeting people are pretty remote. And other than going to the theatre or going out to a restaurant to eat or something, or driving somewhere, I leave the house 7 in the morning and get back at 7 at night. So the chances of boozing with blondes and bullets are pretty remote.
Most Scottish actors start in the north and then come south. So why did you come straight down to London?
Well, I doubt very much if anyone in Scotland would have employed me. They employed me, certainly, for the other jobs, but not as an actor. You know, I hadn't any real experience. And it was more a sort of giggle in London at the, to join South Pacific, do the audition. Because at the time I was home on a week, down for a long weekend to London, you know, on holiday from the Evening News in Edinburgh. And so when I got the audition, they said, okay, you can come back in 3 months. So I went back and packed my bags, left Scotland, came back and joined South Pacific.
And then it was into television after that?
No, I was did a year or so on tour with plays, with South Pacific, came back, did 3 or 4 plays at Q Theatre, which is sort of experimental theatre in London. And it didn't work for about 6 months, 8 months.
I think you've been given perhaps the impression that you've been playing James Bond and nothing else, but a film has recently been released, hasn't it, Woman of Straw?
Yes, and I just came back from Hollywood. I did Marley for Hitchcock, and I was in Canada the year before last doing Macbeth, and I was in the West End just before that doing a Giraudoux play in the theatre. So,
well, afraid you must go, but thank you very much for speaking to us.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Goldfinger broke box office records everywhere. The world succumbed to Bond mania, and Connery was a true Hollywood superstar. When shooting got underway on You Only Live Twice, TV globetrotter Alan Wicker dropped in to investigate the phenomenon and found that perhaps the only person not in love with James Bond was 007 himself.
Because of Bond, Connery's a millionaire and perhaps the best-known face in the world. But he remains unaffected and candid and indifferent to his image. To 100 million cinema-goers, he is James Bond, a character about whom he's read surprisingly little.
I don't know great. I've only read 2 of the books, 1.5 of the books.
Is that so?
Yeah, so you know, and I met Fleming 2 or 3 times, and we were got on very, very well. I liked him enormously. But they just lacked humor, I thought, in the books.
How has being James Bond affected your life?
Well, this is the sort of outcome of one of the facets, and that's the... I live in Acton. We have a marvellous house in Acton, wonderful situations. Unfortunately, it's too accessible. It means that people can come, you know, right up the front gate, get in, and it's the only house in the street. It's a cul-de-sac right by a park, perfect situation, but they just come up and sit on top of the cars or come in the gate, knock at the door. It's too easy, you know, and it's the invasion of one's privacy, and I don't believe any of the rubbish about the price of fame or all that sort of jazz. I don't go for that.
Have they been unpleasant? I mean, are people unpleasant?
As a rule, no, but you get some real head cases that come round and have the most, you know, sort of absurd requests, like, it would be marvellous to come in and have tea, or could we come in and take some photographs, or could I sign on your wall, or, you know, juvenile, insane ideas. There's only one way to solve it, something practical, and that is not to be there.
There was one cutting I read about you. It said you were relaxed and informal to the point of falling apart.
Yes, that's true, at times.
Well,
Particularly when I'm drunk.
No, that's quite endearing. I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But
No, I
also
hate...
said you weren't living up to your image.
Yes, well...
Perhaps you weren't grabbing girls in bars, perhaps, you see.
Would they pay the fines if I lived up to the image?
Most men will find it hard to believe, but Connery's tired of being James Bond, of earning $1 million, plus a hefty percentage of the profits for each film. So within his properly numbered hotel suite, Cubby faces the fact that this could be the last Bond film, unless they can produce a new 007.
It won't be the last one, under any circumstances. All due respect to Sean, who I think has been certainly the best one to play this part. We will, in our own way, try to continue the Bond series for the audience, because it's too important. And if Sean doesn't want to do it, after all, we can't force him to do it. If he doesn't agree with our arrangements or whatever it is, I can't say that he's wrong or right, and that's up to him.
You'd have a headache breaking in a new Bond, actually, wouldn't you, after 5?
Everything is a headache in making a picture.
Yeah.
But you have to be determined to find a way to do this. And if Sean doesn't want to do it, and he has a right not to do it, this won't stop us from making another Bond, because the audience out there want to see it. We present what we have for their approval.
So Bond is going on. It's going to be like Sherlock Holmes. There'll be other Bonds to come.
We think so, yeah.
Connery was bored with Bond. He wanted to focus on other films and announced that You Only Live Twice was the final time he would play the secret agent. His replacement, George Lazenby, and the film On Her Majesty's Secret Service were not considered successes. So Connery took a then unprecedented paycheck of over $1 million to return to the role. He gave all the money to the Scottish International Educational Trust, as he explained in an interview on the programme Film Night.
Sean Connery, after an absence of 4 years, what brings you back to James Bond?
Well, I started 3 years ago a trust in Scotland, Scottish International Education Trust. And I had an opportunity in doing this film, Diamonds Are Forever, for an amount of money for the trust, which I can't disclose now on the program, but it was my fee. And we'll have a press conference, I think it's on September 4th or 5th, with the announcement of the actual amount. And with this, I could launch the trust with so much money that there could never be an excuse for it not succeeding, unless the people who were involved in it and the conception and ideas were wrong in the first place, which I don't think either are true.
But is it purely a question of money and the control you can have over films, or do you still have some affection for Bond?
Oh, yeah, I have no real dissatisfaction with the character as such. That would really be stupid. Although I had to take a week to make the decision myself whether I would do it again, only because after so many years, I don't know how many, because I have no memory for the past at all about time, dates. It was too long to be involved just doing that, and I didn't think I got a fair piece of the cake.
You mean financially?
Yes.
It has in fact been 8 years since you first played Bond, and I wonder if in that time either the character or you have changed very much.
Well, in 8 years, I'm sure I have. I would hope so. A great deal. 8 years, I'm 41 in August, I suppose, 33. Yes, I would think I had changed, yes.
How about Bond? Has he changed in the way you play him?
I suppose I'm a bit slower, not quite as fit. I hope that Guy Hamilton, the director, and myself, and with the assistance of Tom Mankiewicz, who's written the screenplay, which incidentally I think is probably the best one they've had, certainly construction-wise, for a beginning, a middle, and an end of a story. It's very good. It's a very good script. I hope it's got enough, I think that there's humour in it to do with the passage in time as well.
Is it a very faithful script to Fleming's original novel?
I have never read the novel. I don't know. I think that I only read about 3 of them. I read Thunderball, because that was the first one we were supposed to do, Live and Let Die, and From Russia with Love.
Why have you not read the rest?
I don't really know. I don't know.
Is it fair to say that with the one exception of The Hill, your films away from Bond have not been nearly as successful as the ones you've done as 007?
I have just done another film, The Anderson Tapes, for which I've got the premiere in Scotland, which incidentally has never happened in the history of the cinema business before. It's a film I made for Columbia with Sidney Lumet, who directed The Hill. And when I wanted to take the film to Scotland for the premiere, they said, well, you can't do that. And I said, why? And they said, because it had never been done before, you know, which is very much in the vein of the thinking in this country. Anyway, we have got it. And this, incidentally, is a phenomenal success now in America from coast to coast, which is also exciting for the fact that I have the premiere for the Trust in Scotland. But that was, I was referring to that merely because he had directed The Hill too, which was the sort of, I suppose, the yardstick one would use for, considered a success for me as an actor, and quite a considerable commercial success because it was black and white.
And of course you're a businessman now as well as an actor. You have a number of interests in banking, among other things. So how important is being an actor still to you?
Well, I've always maintained anyway that I wouldn't want to be just an actor. You know, so I mean, I'm a director of a bank, I'm on board of directors of industrial communications, and I have interest in the second, I've got a 50% owner of a second-hand car business down East End, and I have a production company and a few other odds and ends.
Getting back to Bond himself as a character, to some people he's a snob, a bore, an exhibitionist. To others he's the great escapist hero of all time. How do you feel about him as a character?
Well, I think that I've got way past all that since the initiate Dr. No, you know. It's like if you've made something and you leave it around and somebody picks it up, and everybody will pick it up and see it as something else or look at it in a different way. And I don't think there's anything you can do about it after you've done it. And having committed oneself to doing it that way initially, apart from a few bits and pieces and some subtleties that go in for the aficionados, it's very much the same character.
But do you think that, in fact, the golden Bond years of the mid-60s, when his name was on every aftershave lotion, every child's toy, are now really something of the past?
Oh, possibly. I mean, I wouldn't know. I mean, it's perfectly possible that the cycle has ended. And I'm just glad to think that we have the money in the trust.
But now, as you say, this is your own 6th Bond film. There have, in fact, been 2 without you, if you count Casino Royale.
Yeah.
That leaves, by my reckoning, 5 Ian Fleming novels still unfilmed. Is there any chance that you'll be turning up in those too?
No, no. I came back for the one. That was the understanding. And I'd do the one, and I've got other things I want to do, you know. I mean, I have no desire to have £100 million, £50 million at all. I know exactly what it is to be without money. I know exactly what money is to me. And when I know that, and I know a large percentage of myself, and I know which way I'm going.
Connery knew he'd never shake off Bond completely, but over the following decade he enjoyed his freedom from the role, most notably in John Huston's The Man Who Would Be King, which saw him teaming up with a good friend, Michael Caine.
To learn to march in step, do the manual of arms, without even having to think. Good soldiers don't think. They just obey. Do you suppose if a man thought twice he'd give his life for Queen and country? Not bloody likely. He wouldn't go near the battlefield.
I mean, I think it's a superb script from many levels. It's very pleasurable dialogue and satisfying to people who like words. And there's humor, and there's a scale, size, you know, a couple of thousand armies. And there's action, and in many different locations throughout this country in particular. Well, was the shot no good then?
Well, the mules don't go over the side. If that's what we're trying to do, there's nothing happen with the mules. Not a goddamn thing happens with the mules.
Jim, you put them in a spot, I can get them in a tangle quicker than anybody. Any horse.
Because they were all on the flat.
I'll mess it up
One
for you.
wasn't kind of high.
John Huston had been planning this film for a very long time. His original idea was to have Clark Gable and Humphrey Bogart in the starring roles, but Bogart's death in 1957 brought the project to a temporary halt.
If they're that far back, there are not all these many people right up here, you see.
Nearly 20 years later, Huston at last found the stars to replace Bogey and Gable.
In this picture, there's a minimum of direction. Sean Connery and Michael Caine, they are the roles.
The two parts are, I think, almost one person, actually.
There is a tremendous relationship in the movie between Dravot, which is Sean Connery, and Carnahan, which is myself.
See, when you read the short story, the thing that comes across, it's only 22 pages. But what comes across is they've interchanged, lifted, I think 50% of the dialogue is Kipling. Very difficult stuff to learn. Phraseology is quite different from, you know, modern metaphors. And Michael can take, he has parts that, in the short story of the dialogue, that Dravot has in the film. And yet it's still workable.
Other popular successes in the 70s included Robin and Marion with Audrey Hepburn and The First Great Train Robbery. By now, Connery had developed a reputation as an actor who liked to get involved, taking no nonsense and making sure his opinions were taken seriously by directors.
Bob! Hey,
Straight on up.
Is it possible to go straight on? Go straight on, Bob!
He's out the picture now, no?
No. Was he out? Well,
Yeah, he's got to be out.
I guess he was, behind the rock.
Yeah, you're okay there, that's fine. Okay.
I think I have perhaps a different concept from others in terms of what I think a film is about. I don't think that it's competitive in that sense, and I think that the better the contribution of all concerned, then the better the end product. I like enthusiasm. I loathe stupidity and incompetence, and the only thing that really works is attempting standards all the time. And the great pleasure, I think, is a unit of real pros who know what they're doing or know what they're trying to do. You know, they can make cock-ups and what have you because enthusiasm breeds that. But that's totally acceptable in my book, and I think that's the real pleasure if you've worked with a real good unit of actors and actresses with good crew, and it's terrific. Like, say, the Great Train Robbery, I read in the script it was going to be this thing, you know, on the top of the train going out and back and along. And I thought, well, it's a very, very good trick. And, you know, it's an integral part of the story. And, but I must say, I didn't think that I'd end up doing it all myself. We were told the train could never go above 35 miles an hour. Well, when we came to do it, I knew the train was going faster and faster. So we had a helicopter that followed me all the way out, over and back, all the way along. And when I got off the train at the station, we'd completed the take, and the pilots landed in the field next to us with the cameras. He came up to me and said, "You're bananas. Hey, you're doing 55 miles an hour down there." And I said, "No, I can only do 35 miles an hour." He said, "No." I said, "This is a modern, you know, helicopter. You can see." So we walked down, Crichton and I and the pilot, walked down to the Irish train driver. He was standing there, you know, black face. And we said, "What is this 35 miles an hour bit?" I said, 35 miles an hour, that's all the train will do. I said, "Well," and we looked, and there was no speedometer, there was no gauge. I said, "Well, how do you know it can only do 35 miles an hour?" He said, "We count the trees."
Of course I worry about him, and sometimes I'm furious. He told me afterward that he was running on the train. You know, I was mad, because if I had been there, he would never have run on the train. I think it was silly.
Sean was always the way he is now. And I think Cruise immediately recognized that this is a man who has no side to him. He is what he is. He's, if you like, that sense of a man's man or a woman's woman, whatever that means. But he is not a facade. If he feels something, he'll say it, and he'll say it to you or me or the President of the United States. And that is a very comforting thing, I think, for film crews who are used to a lot of doublespeak.
A very famous actress who should be nameless, I'm afraid. And she invited Sean and his wife and myself and my wife to dinner. And we thought this was very nice that this wonderful star would want to know the two of us, and we talked about Man Who Would Be King, because we'd obviously both been in it and everything. And right in the middle of the main course, she said to Sean, "Would you be directed by me if I gave you a part in the film?" Now, this is our hostess, and a very powerful lady. And Sean suddenly realised, and I realised, that she had invited me because she knew if I came, Sean would come, but he wouldn't have come on his own, you know. People do that with me, Sean. They say, "If you invite Michael, Sean will come." And she had done that. Now, I was quiet because I hadn't been asked the question. And Sean just looked at me and he said, "Good God, no, why should I?" He said, "I've made more pictures than you." He said, "Would you be directed by me?" She said, "No." He said, "Well, why on earth would you even ask me the question?" He said, "It's preposterous." And I later learned that the lady was up till dawn talking about that, very, very perturbed by it. And that's Sean. And it came out. I mean, I must admit, if she'd have said it to me, I would have said, "Well, I'd like to read the script, and I'll a typical Englishman waffling around saying, and we'll see how we go, and I'm not sure of my schedule, I have to phone my agent, and my wife's having a baby," or something I would have said. But he just said, "No, why would I do that?" He said, "Oh, no."
The men who work with you, the people who work with you, regard you as a professional who knows the job, who likes to be surrounded by people who know the job, who doesn't suffer fools gladly. The press view, certainly in those early days, was of a very prickly, truculent, boorish individual who at every point would, you know, really slam into them and just drive right through them. How do you reconcile these two images?
Well, I give a little example of it, and I mean, I have to accept a part of it is true as well. If a mass of journalists come, and I'm talking about a mass, and they ask the same questions, it's very difficult to be genuinely stimulated or interested by the same question the 11th time. Eh?
Do you regret giving up Bond as a character? I mean, that's the essential question.
No, I never.
How do you feel the Bond character has developed since you left him? Are you suggesting that sometime in the future you might go back and do Bond again? So if you wanted to go back and make another Bond movie, you could go and do so. Is that
Oh, yeah.
Despite experiences like that, Connery caused a sensation in 1983 when he revealed he'd play James Bond one more time, on his own terms, in Never Say Never Again.
Sean, can we begin by backtracking a bit and go over the old ground? Why did you stop playing Bond?
Oh, backtracking. It's a long way back. Well, I stopped mainly because the films escalated, got longer and longer, became more and more difficult to legislate in time. They got more and more hardware, and the producers were frightfully greedy.
All that being so, what made you come back again?
Well, it's another sort of convoluted story. I was in Almeria finishing The Wind and the Lion, and Kevin McClory said, came to see me. Kevin was the one who'd won the lawsuit against Fleming originally to have the rights to do Thunderball. And he said that after 10 years, the rights reverted back to him, and he knew I wasn't interested in playing the part, but would I consider writing a screenplay with Len Dayton? And that appealed to me, so I said, sure. I worked with Len over a period of, I don't know, 4 months, 6 months nearly, and the script was coming rather well. And I was discussing it with my wife, and she said, well, if it's going so well, why don't you play the part? And coming from her, I gave it more thought than I normally would have done, I suppose. And it seemed quite a good idea after all these years. This is, I think, maybe 3 years ago. I'm no good at memory in times of the past, but about then. And the moment I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it, there was a terrific furore with lawyers and what have you, because obviously there's a great deal of money involved. And that always attracts a lawyer.
How reckless of me. I made you all wet.
Yes, but my martini's still dry. My name's James.
Hello, James. I'm Fatima Blush.
You ski very well.
I do many things very well.
I'm sure you do.
What brings you to Nassau, James?
I'm fishing.
For what?
Anything I can get.
I know the best waters. I'd be very happy to show them to you.
Now, why would you want to do that?
I'd like you to find what you're looking for.
I'm all yours.
How did you come up with this new title? Is it true that it comes about because you once said about Bond, never again?
It was my wife that came up with it. She came up with Never Say Never Again. And then after hearing it a couple of times, then she's saying, you know, and you did say you'd never do it again, and here you're doing it, and what have you. And there is no question that it worked, and it works so well in the French, jamais plus jamais, and in Italy it's mai dire mai, you know.
Oh, well, these are important considerations, aren't they? You get the title right everywhere.
Well, also it writes a song, you know, it makes for the music, and then that's something else that takes it on. Incidentally, the producer promised my wife a sable coat for the title, and she's never received it, so I'll have to take legal proceedings, I think.
Indeed, yes, I hope he's watching. You have the reputation, Sean, of being about the least vain of actors. I mean, for instance, you're not wearing the rug now. Are you planning to extend that into playing without the rug, or is it just rug when you need it, rug when you don't?
Yeah, because, you see, it's like, I was asked a question, I had to think about it the other day. Why do you wear a wig? Why are you not wearing a wig now? Or something. Well, first of all, it's a personal choice. I don't like wearing a hairpiece. I don't like sticking a false beard on. I would rather grow a beard. Unfortunately, I can't grow hair, so I'm stuck with that. But equally so, like The Wind and the Lion, Robin and Marion, The Man Who Would Be King, I chose not to wear a hairpiece. 5 Days, One Summer, I didn't wear a hairpiece because I dyed my hair white for The Man Who Would Be King, for 5 Days, One Summer. But that was because it seemed to work for the character in the film. And then on other parts, like Murder on the Orient Express, one got a better look for what one was after with a hairpiece.
And the same applies with Bond, of course.
Well, exactly. And, you know, we tried the other ways, and it just looked wrong.
Inhibited in any way by the fact that when you were making Never Say Never Again, Roger Moore was making Octopussy.
No, I made it quite clear at the outset that I was not in any way going to get involved in any silly race or any hype in terms of rivalry or whatever. As you know, as you well know, I've known Roger 20 years or so. In fact, we started around the same time, and I bumped into Roger in St. James's, and we had, you know, he said, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I'm going off to the Bahamas." He said, "Well," he said, "I'm going off to India," and, you know, this kind of chat. And I did say to him, you know, they're going to try and play a sort of hype business, but you shouldn't really pay any attention to it. And we didn't. In fact, I haven't seen Roger this time, but we saw a lot of each other in London because we were both filming at the same time. Yeah. We had a couple of, in fact, one of the best parties in London that same time when all the boys were in town. Michael Caine came in
and two
Albert
James
and
Bonds.
Yeah, we never talked very much about the film.
You'll no doubt be delighted to know that in a recent poll, I think it was 62% of men and 56% of women preferred you as James Bond.
Well, you can't fight intelligence.
Indeed you can't. Is there the possibility of another Sean Connery Bond, or is this really never again time?
Well, I tell you, I've been involved in this for 2 years. And I don't think I'll do another Bond. I mean, I'm really very tired. It's the first time, I think, in I don't know how many years, where I don't have any kind of game plan about a film or a couple of projects. I did a film for a young guy, Stephen Weeks, The Green Knight. It's now called The Sword of the Valiant, and that's the only other thing that's still to come out. But I haven't fixed, I've turned everything down and gone back more to reading again, which I'm finding...
You're not hinting that you're going to give up this acting game completely, are you?
No, I don't think I will. I'd like to find something to direct. That would sort of get me back and excited again. I'm sure it's just a phase and it comes with age, I suppose. But I really think that they should make a 35-year-old young, find a good actor, different, like some like this, what's his name, Mel Gibson, that sort of actor who can do that. That's what they want to find, I think.
A new James Bond, a younger James Bond.
Yeah, definitely.
By the mid-80s, Connery had been one of the world's biggest stars for a quarter of a century. So when Steven Spielberg wanted someone to play the father of the biggest action hero of the time, there was only one real contender.
Sean Connery says he was attracted to the role for a number of reasons.
The kind of epic proportions of it, the fun of it, it's got a lot of style, I think, and I like the idea of being the older guy, having done a lot of it in the earlier days with the Bond films and that, and figured it would be fun, and what I like very much is he's a very enthusiastic and a total pro.
Right to there is good. So, Sean comes in first. Ready for the move? Yep. Here he comes.
The film is directed by Steven Spielberg. Although his decision to cast Sean Connery as Indiana Jones's father came as a surprise in some quarters, to him, the choice was obvious.
Who else could possibly play Indiana Jones's father, except someone with the charisma and the kind of, you know, strong presence as Sean Connery has shown. Earlier, people said, are you making a movie? Is this Indiana Jones meets James Bond? And I said, no, nothing of the sort. This is Indiana Jones meets the strongest father alive, and how they reacquaint, you know, themselves with each other after many years of estrangement.
When asked about his advancing years, Connery once said, "Some age, others mature." Henry Jones was just one of the older, wiser roles that Connery took at this time, most notably in The Untouchables, for which he won 1987's Best Supporting Actor Oscar. He discusses that film and some others from across his career in the programme Scene by Scene, which starts with a look at one of his earliest films, Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Sean, how often do you do this, sit on a Saturday afternoon and watch your own movies?
Rarely.
We're going to watch films from throughout your career, a real work of art here. Let's have a look.
That's Janet, actually. Poor girl from the
Full of fun, no other can match the likes of him.
Old Albert.
My darling one, my smiling and big island one.
Pretty Irish girl. Well. I can't tell you how long ago that was, actually, but I remember that I had so little experience about singing that it was a nightmare to learn it and to go and make the record, but to do it before we started the movie. And Janet and I went down, a guy called Tamaretti or Tamamuri or something was the conductor, and there was this great big orchestra, 50-piece or whatever it was, in the valley. And I was at one pedestal and she was at the other, and I had to, and suddenly it was me to sing, and nothing came out. And they all stopped, and so after a few stops and starts, they realized that I had absolutely no experience of it, and therefore they would have to just take a recording, and I would do it against the recording. And then the nightmare came when they said, now we do the other side of the record, which was a song called The Ballymacquilty Band, which I had to learn there and then and sing. So with the help of some vodka with Janet and I, we did it.
Oh, she is my dear, my darling one, her eyes so sparkling full of fun. No other can match the likes of her. She is my dear, my darling one, my smiling and big island one. I love the ground she walks upon, my darling Irish girl.
I called you when your food was ready, but you were making so much noise you couldn't hear me.
Faith, I know I can't sing a lick, but when I'm roaring like Doran's bull, it works up a killing hunger in me.
And this was your first time filming in America.
Yeah.
And it was also your first hit film, really, wasn't it? It was the first that brought a decent box office.
Yeah, in fact, that was my first trip to America. Yes. First movie was Darby O'Gill, and in fact, I flew to go to. I didn't realize that on the plane all the food and drink was free. It took me for ages to order something.
And this film was produced by Walt Disney. Did you meet Walt Disney?
Oh yeah. When we had the premiere, I went to the races with Walt in Ireland.
Years after this, something happened. You got the call from Mr. Hitchcock to make Marnie.
Yeah.
Now, from what I've read, most people accepted Hitchcock roles without having read the script. Is that the case?
Yeah.
And how was it different for you?
Well, because I was very curious as to what it was, because at the time of offering to me, Grace Kelly was supposed to be playing the other part. And
the tippy head.
And yes, and so I said, well, I would, certainly like to read it. Not unusual, I thought, because I would equally say, I don't think I'm right for it, or this is more American than I could ever be.
Yes.
And but I liked it, and eventually I had a terrific time with him.
Were you worried that it was a controversial part because he's very sexually aggressive? There's a rape scene that we're about to watch.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, I don't think I was that concerned about these kind of issues at all. And his preparation for movie making was second to none in terms of what he wanted in the script, and he had visualized and everything, and I enjoyed enormously working with him.
If you don't mind, I'd like to go to bed. I've told you the light from the sitting room bothers me.
Well, we certainly can't have anything bothering you, can we?
This is the night of supposed consummation when it was our honeymoon.
Yes.
If you don't want to go to bed, please get out.
But I do want to go to bed, Marnie. I very much want to go to bed.
No!
I'm sorry, Marnie.
It's usually the smoke coming at the end of a tunnel.
Oh yes, that was enough of it. Look at there. I mean, they've really shaved your eyebrows there, haven't they?
Well, yeah, they did everything. In my first kind of introduction to the kind of perfecto, as it were, of the Hollywood, I think they really wanted somebody like Cary Grant, or Cary Grant, whatever it is. And then same as with the hairline had to be perfect with the piece, and then the guy had a special way of doing your eyebrows and
plucking.
Yes, he did everything, and and then there would never could be a sort of suggestion of a not like everybody now with a stubble look, you know, which is. Let me ask you a question. I see that everybody still walks around, these young people, with their shirt hanging out. What does it mean? It's so uncomfortable. That's how they get a chill in the kidneys. Anyway, that was sort of the mode for Hollywood then, and Hitch was very much, and you know, he had a saying, he always said, whatever your question got a little too involved, I never had too many problems in discussing anything with him. He would just say, oh, it's just a movie.
Tell me about your character in The Untouchables.
Jimmy Malone. He was, again, somebody who was so cynical about the whole Al Capone, what they were all trying to do, and nobody really understood how you were going to deal with such venom as the Capone regime. Yes. He understood how it would be done, but he wasn't in a position ever to do it. The graph, as it were, for him was a guy who suddenly got a chance very late, near retirement, to be a main feature player in turning it around. And so he got more and more up and up as the movie went on.
Yes. Let's watch it.
What do you want?
I'd like to talk to you.
Come in.
What I need is a small group of men,
Nash.
handpicked, starting with you.
Nash,
And how we...
I am just a poor, beat cop. Now, how can I help you?
Just work with me.
But why should I, though?
Because you're a good cop.
How do you know that?
You told me.
I'm such a good cop. How come I'm walking the beat then at my age?
Which of those two men do you identify more with? You've said in several interviews that you're enthusiasts, you know, and Cosner Ness is nothing if not that. He's such a zealous idealist.
Well, that's true, but yeah, and that's why I liked Kevin's playing of it and everything, and I thought they were very unfair in the criticism of his performance in the movie. But you say, which person do I prefer of the two?
Wait, if
Well, it's very
which of
difficult
those
to
two men
compare.
could save the world most, which quality do we need most? Do we need idealism or do we need experience?
No, you need experience.
There were some more big movies to come, but the role that Connery has recently taken most seriously is that of the champion of independence for his beloved Scotland. It was claimed that his backing of the Scottish National Party delayed him getting a knighthood, but that honour eventually, inevitably, came in the year 2000. And whilst Connery's last film, 2003's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, wasn't one of his finest, the title was apt. If anyone deserves the title extraordinary, then surely Sean Connery does. A great actor, a great success story, and a truly great Scot.